right, well, we are live here. We've got some attendees trickling in. We'll just welcome everybody to our one of our Tuesday community chats. I'm Eli Beckman, I'm the mayor. We've got our town manager, Todd Cusimano. We've got our public works director, RJ Suko. We've got our fire chief, Ruben Martin. We've got our code enforcement and communications director, Mike Moriarty. And we've got Chris Ragland, our new building official. Welcome, Chris. I think this is your first one of our community chats, so we're glad to have you. In fact, Chris, you want to go ahead and start and just take this opportunity if you want to just introduce yourself to the folks that we've got on the line. We got a few members of the public here, probably more joining us.
Yep. Hello. I recognize some of the people online. This is my second week and learning a lot of things and how things are done here locally and in California related to the building codes and the team. And so, I heard those regular meetings were happening. So I always like to meet members of the public and see what's going on in the other branches of government. So, hello, Ruben.
Hey, Chris, finally put a face to the name and the voice.
That's right.
I'll make it over to the building one of these days.
All right. And I still have to meet RJ in person.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining us, Chris. I know it's probably not easy to join a new organization in the middle of COVID, but we're glad to have you and glad you could join our community chat here. And I'm sure that the members of the public that are on the line here are glad to be able to get to know you here. I don't have any updates for residents, I don't think. So we'll just go through staff and see if any staff have any updates. And then we'll just turn it over to the public for any questions or comments, whatever you guys want to talk about. So do we have any staff updates to start with? Also, welcome Adam Wolf, our planning building director who just joined us.
Yeah, Adam, do you want to mention the second community workshop we have tonight?
Yeah, absolutely. Hello, everyone. So tomorrow night, we have our second community workshop on the housing element. And I think it's going to be a really engaging and exciting discussion. We have a panelist of community, local community business owners and members of local government organizations. Brett Geitman from Larkspur Corte Madera School District. We have Carrie Pollard from Marin Municipal Water District. I think actually our local business representative I just got an email, unfortunately, that he pulled out, couldn't make it due to a family emergency. But others, we have some local affordable housing developers, Ecumenical Association of Housing, EAH, who manages the San Clemente Place apartments over on San Clemente Place, San Clemente Drive, and another developer as well. And really, this is a discussion intended to bring some of the broader housing issues that are all over the news and that we hear about all the time, ground it locally and ground it in a conversation that with members of our community and people who are dealing with local issues all the time and have to deal with housing issues, whether it's the school or the water district or affordable housing developers. So that's tomorrow night. There'll also be another piece of it. I won't get into it, but I'm hoping we'll get a great turnout. And the process continues. Again, it's the second workshop of a six-part workshop. The December workshop will start talking about where the housing we're planning for is really where we should be considering developing that housing, or at least facilitating the planning for facilitating housing development through the planning and land use regulation process. So with that, I guess I'll just leave it there and let others chime in with other updates. Maybe I'll think of something else by the time it goes through the rest of you guys.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks, Adam. Any other updates from staff?
And just one real quick, boss, just one that I was proud of the town's efforts in communication. And we're really starting to take most of our projects and really hitting it from a communication standpoint, but also sending mailers, not just to those in the neighborhood, but to the entire town. And one of those was the Paradise Complete Streets project. We had our first workshop. I thought it was a good workshop, but what we learned was that, the vendor that we used, there were some issues with the mailer portion of our communication. So lessons learned there. We quickly pivoted, staff got together. Thank you to RJ and the team. We're going to come back and kind of reset and have another community workshop. I believe it's November 30th of this month, and really just make sure that we notice everyone the way we intended, get it right, and then just start that process with multiple public meetings. This is a really exciting project for us. We want to get it right. So please look out for that as you move forward and spread the word for us, because we're really proud of the infrastructure projects coming forward, especially in that region.
Awesome. Thanks, Todd. Mike.
And just to add to what Todd says, we're going to be pushing out that messaging hopefully tomorrow. We're waiting for a final few pieces of some components to that so we can get the messaging out to the community. The subsequent messaging will not be a mailer. It's going to be a blast through the newsletter, as well as our other social media platforms, etc. But we're going to provide all that information on our website, and we've created a sign up to be notified about upcoming updates and items with regards to this project. With that, though, I would like to also add that we are working on a mailer with another vendor, and we're finalizing that mailer now. But it's a survey regarding PG&E undergrounding discussion as part of the climate adaptation assessment that we've been working with the last year, and that's going to be mailed out here. We're working with the consultants, but we're going to have plenty of time learning from our past mistakes, and we're going to have that survey time frame open up through late December. We'll be working with the consultants, sending them the proof tomorrow, and we're going to see how long it actually takes to disseminate and distribute. But we'll also be putting that out on all our platforms as well. We've created a QR code, we've created a survey monkey, and it should be real vital information as the town assesses the undergrounding discussion and how to potentially solicit funds from PG&E to do so. That's it.
Michael. And I just have a couple other quick ones. One, Chris, I love his personality. He's downplaying a little bit, but I personally, I think the whole team we're really excited to have him on board. I think we all think all of our positions are the most difficult in the world, but truly appreciating. It took me 3 years to fully understand everything that goes into being a building official and how complicated and important this position is. It's really one of the front-facing positions in our town, and really to do the recruitment and find Chris. He has the way he attacks it, the way he problem solves. He's got the right personality. He's a great fit for us, and just really a staff, to kind of set him up for success and then let him really build that customer service model moving forward. We're really excited about it. He was part of the recruitment process for 2 additional permit technicians that are coming on board in the next couple of weeks. And so our entire building department has really been changed and improved, I think, and we're going to go attack it. And so I'm just really excited to have him on board and see what he does moving forward. The other one on that note, we have to go through the permitting process just like everyone else, even though we're a governmental agency, and we're going through the process now to move from our current facilities to Hunt Plaza, as we've talked about the last few months. So that process is ongoing. We're completing those permits and starting some ADA and improvements for that building. We hope for that to be complete by the end of December and start our transition into the building the start of January. Somewhere in that period of time, we want to do a couple noticing, maybe some low-level events to have the public come and see our new dig, so to speak, and to see where we're going to be, and really get our services back open to the public. We need to open fully, and it's our priority right now. Over the next 6 weeks, we're going to be creative of how we do that in our current site, but we recognize that absolutely has to happen, and we want to celebrate our move and again do a couple of events. We'll work with Michael to really get that out to the community as well. And that's all I have.
Awesome. Thank you, Todd. And I had one thing to add too that Mike's comments just reminded me of, and I just wanted to share with the public that we had at our last council meeting a really good Parks and Recreation department-wide needs assessment presented to us. So the Parks and Rec staff and commission actually retained an outside expert to conduct, this really thorough process, a public survey, really kind of dove in depth to better understand, in terms of our Parks and Rec amenities, the parks and also the programs that we offer, what's working, what isn't working, what is serving the public well, what are people appreciating, what are they looking for that we don't yet have. The report that they brought back was, I thought, just incredibly helpful, super rich in detailed information, really helpful too, I think, the policymakers in town to better understand what it is that's working, what's not working, what are people looking for. So I thought that was fantastic. That, it's very much, I think, a first step in the sort of the broader like Parks and Rec master planning process as we try and figure out long-term, looking ahead, what is it that residents are expecting of us to offer. But again, it was just, a really good report. I highly recommend anybody who's interested, go ahead and take a look at it. You can see it. It's attached to the agenda packet for our last town council meeting. And if you have trouble finding it, just email me or email staff and we'll help you find it. But it's really helpful if you just want to poke through it and kind of take a look at get kind of like a sneak preview into the direction that I think this master planning process is headed. So I just wanted to put that on people's radars because I thought that was a really, really successful kind of outreach exercise that we went through there. And we learned a lot through that. I don't have anything else to share. Any other staff updates before we open this up to the public? All right, and if not, we'll go ahead and turn this over to you guys now. So anybody on the line who's got anything that they want to ask us or talk about, just go ahead and raise your hand here on Zoom and we'll bring you on. We're going to start with Patty and then go to Michael next.
Hello, everybody. I'm thinking about the holidays, and I know we're still in COVID, and I'm trying to figure out if there's anything that we can do either on Zoom or something like that. I know Cheryl had the idea to offer Trishaw rides for seniors to go look at holiday lights, so I hope that comes to fruition. But I'm wondering about maybe we could start planning for next year. And you remember how everybody loved the sledding during the 100th birthday? Maybe we could get some snow back again and maybe think about it for next year. That's all.
Thank you, Patty. Those are awesome ideas. And I agree. I think COVID has kind of dragged on a lot longer than I think any of us had thought or hoped it would. And I feel like, people have kind of by and large, I think, kind of found their groove. But I think the one thing that is missing is like the kind of like community building, like public fun that we used to have more often. And so I appreciate you bringing that up. I think staff did a fantastic job this year of making 4th of July happen. I think not having our 4th of July parade, which is like often kind of the defining event of, that holiday in the Twin Cities, not having that, I think just like felt really bad to a lot of people. And I thought that the way staff were able to put together a hugely successful event that hundreds of residents had a lot of fun at this year, even though we couldn't do our normal parade, was amazing. So that's a long way of saying I think staff agrees with you from what I've seen. And I think that, I'm really impressed with the work that I've seen in terms of their ability to kind of put their heads together and figure out ways to collaborate with community members, community organizations, and create some opportunities for folks to get together and have fun. And I completely agree with you, Patty. It would be really nice if we can maybe come up with some way to partner up with our residents and community organizations to do a little something this year or next for the holidays. I don't know if any staff members have any thoughts to add, but yeah, RJ.
I'll just say we did have a special event application for a turkey trot. So I think that's happening. I don't know all the specifics, but I'm sure it's Thursday morning. And so there's a little fun exercise community option there.
Thanks for that, RJ. In our council workshop strategic plan for this upcoming year, one of the priorities that the council outlined for staff was to support and make happen town-wide events. And so we absolutely are going to be creative, and I will definitely, we've been talking to Ashley, but I'll add the snow sledding to it as well. We want to support that, and we want to bring that sense of community back. So.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys. And thank you, Patty, for that great comment. We're going to go to Michael next, followed by Jonna. And
Hello, gentlemen. Can you hear me?
yes, sir.
Okay, Michael Harlock. First of all, welcome to Chris. I'm an architect locally, and I'm sure we will be joining paths, not crossing paths. Anyways, appreciate your being here and to help us out and make the building department even better. I'll be quick. So you guys talked about town hall and temporary moving. Where does it stand vis-a-vis Chris with the building permit for where are we in terms of permitting for the new building?
I'll let staff take that, but I'm pretty sure that we're permitting the temporary improvements on the temporary home and still in the final design process on the new town hall facility.
Okay, what does that mean, Eli, in terms of final design process?
That one I'm going to pass to the experts.
I can speak on that. So yeah, we're working with the Cappy Architects, who's been the architect on record the whole way through. They're frantically working to kind of get to the finish line. We're probably right around 75, 80%. And we're penciling in possibly going to town council on the second meeting in December as kind of our best case to bring some plans and specs forward and obtain authorization. But there's still some work to go. And so we're working very closely with them, and we're hoping to hit that target, but if not, it'll be shortly after.
Okay, I got a couple of short follow-ups. We keep being told that gas-powered leaf blowers are illegal, and yet up on Christmas Tree Hill, they're still here, and I'm sure somebody's in charge of enforcement, but what do you recommend in terms of what people in the neighborhood could do? This has become more, I think, even more important with new information about how much pollution those small gas generating motors create, which is pretty astounding. I've seen, I can't remember, but the figures are astounding in terms of what they had. Just another reason. And so I'll let one of our enforcement gurus respond. Hello, enforcement guru.
I could take that. Thank you for the comment, Michael. We've had an increase of complaints, but I'm hearing them like secondhand or third hand through other staff members, and so we're not getting them directly here at code enforcement. So we have an email address, we have phone, we have a dedicated phone line, we all have cell phones. If it's during business hours, we're happy to field the complaint and go and respond and correct the condition, whether it's with a verbal warning or with an administrative citation. We have been patrolling and issuing several notices and informative flyers with some of the landscapers. If we know the address where there's a condition that continues to be problematic with the use of gas leaf blowers, we can send them. We can reach out to the property owner and we can send them an official notice. And I would love to do that, and we have done that in the past. We're just not receiving these complaints contemporaneous, and so I think it's going to some of our politicians, or it could be called into Central Marin Police Authority also. But we're trying to take that burden away from them. So we're here Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. If it's happening during those time frames, our code enforcement team is happy to go out, respond, and handle this. And what we found when we've contacted some of the landscapers who are just trying to make a living, they have electric or battery powered leaf blowers in their possession, or perhaps they have them in their arsenal at home. So we would like to establish address files of documented warnings, but we just need the information. So please spread that word to contact myself. I'm Mike Moriarty, my code enforcement officer Adam Wiley. We're happy to respond and follow up with the property owners also. we just
So,
closed.
Mike,
Yes, sir.
what number do we call?
You can call 415-927-5193 or an email to codeenforcement@tcmmail.org. We all receive voicemails. All of the code enforcement team does, as well as an email and voicemail as well. So
The phone again, 927 what?
5193.
5193. And is that an anonymous?
It
Call.
can be.
I'm sorry, they said my mic was down and not working right. I apologize. Can you repeat that, please?
You're better now. I just ask if it's an anonymous call. Or
Yeah, we're not. Yeah, of course. Well, I mean, we want to correct the condition. So if we just need to have the information. We do have certain individuals that frequently call and we address those. So we can only respond to what we have knowledge of. So please share that with your neighbors. You know, we do have a progressive system with offering warnings and then, you know, ultimately administrative citations. We just developed this entire administrative citation process and ordinance. We issued our first citation recently. So we're prepared to take corrective action to whatever extent is necessary. So please reach out to us.
And
Okay.
Michael,
Thanks.
this is Todd. It's a couple other things, discussion points to this. I think Michael's right on. Michael has done a good job as well, sending out literature to our community in a really summarized fashion of the email, where to call, this whole discussion right here. And what I would ask is that we peer pressure our neighborhoods. And so up on Christmas Tree Hill, you have a really good, robust email chain of residents up there. And I would ask for help. And I would ask for you and others to educate your neighbors of the expectation out there. And, you know, quite frankly, our intent isn't to target landscapers, right? It's an equity conversation as we get into it. I'm holding the homeowners, our residents, accountable. We need to understand that there's an ordinance, the expectation, and what we want here. And so even if we miss that 15-minute window of a leaf blower being used illegally, we still want to know, because Michael's team goes up there, will make contact with that resident and we'll hold them. You know, we can't issue a citation in the moment, but we can educate them and hold them a little bit accountable to the best of our ability. And as well, there's been a couple instances where we have contacted landscapers and have helped them change out their gas-powered leaf blowers for electric ones. And so the town, on a case-by-case basis, will be creative, you know, in how we solve this problem, because there's a few different levels to this one that we all know. We've been talking about this for the last 5 to 6 years. So that would be great if you could help us with that.
Okay, thanks. And then just one final visionary comment. Has anybody ever, and you know, in the last 2 atmospheric rivers, we all watch gushing water going down the hill into the bay. And I just wonder if anybody has thought about, you know, there's tremendous discussion with MMWD about increased storage and that subject, which is beyond the town. But even say somewhere near Town Park, has anybody ever thought of capturing when we have excess runoff for watering in, you know, the next year? We know that some of the trees have died, and I don't expect that there's an easy solution for that, but certainly if homeowners are capturing water, you know, there may be ways the town could for the dry season. So
I'll just add a little food for thought. So obviously, you know, I think when residences collect water, it's often from a roof system. So maybe it's not touching roads and other surfaces that often have oils and other things, which, as you can imagine, are not healthy for consumption and are also difficult to filter out. So I think that's part of the challenges. And I've just kind of learned this even from testing water in our creeks that we think might be clean. You'd be surprised what a water quality sample comes back with, kind of where the, you know, chemical levels are. And so I think it's a fair question and not something that should be discarded and should be given some thought. But just there are a lot of unfortunately chemicals all around us that we may not be aware of that make those types of ideas challenging.
Yeah, well, RJ, I'm certainly agree that that would be an issue, but I'm certainly not talking about treatment, even or certainly consumption. I'm talking about gray water use for landscaping.
You know, Michael, we can always count on you for the visionary kind of perspective, which I really appreciate.
Yeah.
And I think that is a really interesting point that you bring up. And I appreciate RJ's input there too. And I think that's certainly maybe if I dare say a question that's a little bit bigger than the town of Corte Madera has the bandwidth or the resources to tackle, but definitely think it's worth talking about, you know, at a county level. So thanks for bringing that up. And you know, I appreciate, especially during the drought, that you've got your eyes out for other sources of water.
Well, thanks, Eli. But I just would say, when you say it has to be bumped up to the county, but as we know, the town has a tremendously intricate and costly flood control system. So it just seems to me a lot of facilities are in place or could possibly be even expanded. And I don't have the answers, but I'm talking within city limits or twin city limits. So thank you for the forum. And I appreciate all you guys paying attention to us out there.
I'll just add one quick note. I think some agencies are actually looking into kind of like freshwater wells and that sort of thing. And I think what becomes challenging for Corte Madera is that there's, you know, so much of our city is built in these marshes that have salt water, which, you know, is problematic for even things like irrigation. So I think it's something to keep an eye on, and maybe there's an opportunity, but I think our geographic location and the salt water also plays into it as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Michael. We got some other folks with hands up, so I want to move on, but we're happy to come back to you, Michael, if you've got other stuff that you want to discuss in a few minutes. Does that sound good?
Yeah.
Oh, Chris, did you
I'm done for today.
Okay. All right. All right. Thank you, Michael. Appreciate it. All right. We're going to go next to Jonna, followed by Lucinda.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I'll be quick. Eli, I'm following up with you on your comment about the very extensive survey that the Corte Madera Parks and Recreation Commission recently released the results from. And there's been a lot of sort of amusement as people have talked about their impressions of the results, because so many of the things that members of the community responded to were actually not done by the town, but were done by the local volunteer groups in the community that Corte Madera is so well known for. And, you know, so when you talk about how great everybody thought things were being done in regard to the Parks and Recreation Commission, we want to be sure to note that so many of the things that they prize actually were the result of a lot of work by volunteers in our community and local civic groups. The other thing is a question for Adam, I think. I was at a conversation, part of a conversation recently that was wondering why Corte Madera's housing standards that are up for discussion these next few months seem to all be focused on the upper range of sizes. And there was an article in the IJ the other day that reported on some of Mill Valley's limits that are considerably smaller than what's being discussed for Corte Madera. And it made me wonder why Corte Madera is reaching, or seems to be reaching, to the upper limits of what the state legislation regarding the housing supply is calling for. You know, I think if I'm not mistaken, Corte Madera had a 1,200 square foot limit for ADUs and is talking about bumping it down to 11. Well, when I built my ADU in 2004 as one of the first Corte Madera ADUs under AB 1866 or 1886, forgotten which it is, the limit was 700 square feet. And I'm wondering why Corte Madera is not limiting ADUs in the new housing element to say 800 square feet instead of 11. And Mill Valley was also discussing the height limit. I think they have a 16-foot height limit. And yet the recent ADUs getting approved in Corte Madera are significantly higher than that. And that's a subject of a lot of controversy. And I just wondered if there's some concern being expressed by other people about this. That's it.
Thanks, Lucinda. Yeah, I would be happy to sort of be tapped into that conversation. I think it would be good to sort of go into some of the background in more depth. But essentially, when we went through the process in 2019, those were questions that were put in front of both the Planning Commission and well, put in front of an ordinance. And so I don't think we're at the upper end. And so there might be some information or some clarity I can bring to that conversation. So there's several different rules regarding the size of accessory dwelling units, and it depends on how you are utilizing state law to build your accessory dwelling unit. So it's true that state law came in and they said essentially that at the bare minimum, you have to allow for an 800 square foot ADU. So that right away required us to go up a little bit more than what we were previously in terms of the size of an ADU. And so what we did was basically, and there's also another requirement that said if you are, well, our regulations right now allow for 1,000 square foot accessory dwelling unit. So it's the 800 at the maximum we allow is if you are going to be in setbacks that are allowed by state law. So if you're in the rear yard setback, or you're encroaching into a side yard setback, which is you have to a minimum of 4 feet, then our code does say you're maxed out at 800 square feet and 16 feet in height. So if you are not encroaching in those setbacks, then you are maxed out at 1,000 square feet. And we do have a provision that allows you to go to 1,200 square feet, but only through a discretionary process. And in fact, tonight, it will be our first one in front of the Planning Commission where an applicant is actually up on Via Run is actually proposing to utilize that discretionary review process to seek approval for a 1,200 square foot accessory dwelling unit. That was actually, there's a long history there, but that was something that was discussed with staff and the Planning Commission, ultimately through the town council and through the legislative process in town. Those were the rules that actually were deemed appropriate. And so I think there was a feeling that there might be certain lots and specific lots where larger size ADUs could be appropriate, given that fact that not many people would see them, they'd be out of the way, and so on and so forth. So I don't think we're around within 50 to 100 square feet of where everyone else is for the most part, in less than some cities, a little bit more than others, but we're right in that range. And there's only a limited range that frankly we can be by state law. So, but happy to sort of try to. It is complicated. There's a lot of nuance. There's a lot of real sort of situations where it depends what size ADU you actually can get depending on what you're actually proposing. So it's not one size fits all sort of answer to that question. But appreciate sort of the question and happy to sort of go through that in more detail with you, Lucinda, or with the other folks who are sort of
it's John.
this.
All right. Well, thank you, Adam and John. I hope that was helpful, and Adam's happy to follow up with you after. And then I just wanted to also, to your first comment, just to say thank you. Yes, absolutely. And I did not mean at all to sell our volunteer organizations short. I think everybody who lives in Corte Madera knows that volunteerism, and especially our community organizations, are what make this place such an incredible place to live in. And as you highlighted today, and as I think it was Bob who highlighted in our last town council meeting when this report was being presented, it does shine through, I think, in residents' own reflections, telling us that some of the things that residents enjoy and appreciate most about what goes on in Corte Madera are the events and the amenities put together and provided and funded in whole or in part by our various community organizations, whether it's the Community Foundation, the Lions Club, the Women's Improvement Club, beautification, you name it. We just, I think we're really lucky to have so many just standout volunteers and organizations that do fantastic things for the town. And I know that you and many of the other people on this call are deeply involved in those efforts. So I wanted to thank you and all of our other volunteers for being such an incredible part of our community.
And I apologize. The first we're thinking it was Lucinda. I was down the list one. Hi, Jonna, and thanks. Apologies for that.
Not at all.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Jonna. Was there anything else you wanted to talk about?
No, everything's great.
Great. Thank you. So we're going to move on to Lucinda next, followed by Karen.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. I just wanted to make a couple of comments with regard to some of the things that have been discussed. With regard to the park use, as of the last big rains that we had, there was a lake down on our park. And if you're down there on Saturday and Sunday and see the use of that park, you understand what a great resource we have. Is that part of being that kind of drainage issue being addressed in the new whatever's going to go on with Park and Rec? I didn't hear that presentation, so I apologize for that. But if it's not, I really think that we need to address it because the drainage is an issue.
I noticed that as well, Lucinda, and RJ can speak to that, but I know that we have a storm drainage master plan process that's in the works.
Thank you.
Yeah, we actually just had a big field meeting this morning, half the morning or the whole morning, kind of going around and scoping that out. But yeah, if you have photos or specific locations, please send them our way. I'd love to check it out.
I'll wait for the next big rain and take a picture. And then I did want to bring up a problem with regard to the intersection of Sausalito Street and Tamalpais. There is parking at the bottom of Sausalito where it connects onto Tamalpais is a huge problem, in my opinion. I use it a lot going up and down Sausalito, turning on and off of Tamalpais, and it's very hard to see traffic coming from the left, as you're coming down the hill, because parking is allowed too close to the intersection. On Sausalito Street, there's a house right there on the corner, and I acknowledge that the poor people there have lousy available parking, but they're parking a big truck or a big car right there at the corner so that it pushes you over into the street makes it, to my opinions, unsafe for people to turn onto Sausalito Street from Tamalpais. It needs to be addressed. Something needs to be done because it's dangerous. Somebody's going to get hit, either a pedestrian or a car. And I know it's probably not on anybody's radar, but please put it there somewhere.
I'll take that one too. I'll add that to my list.
Okay. Are you
Awesome.
gonna?
Thank you, RJ.
Are you gonna
Thank
talk?
you.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Okay. And with regard to the ADU that was discussed earlier from Jonna's comments, I'm very nervous about having this discretion aspect be part of what ADUs can be in terms of limits. I mean, when you get into the discretionary part with all kinds of ifs, ands, and buts about it, you start to set precedents. And once you set the precedent, then everybody relies on it. And I think that going to the smaller size is really what we need to adhere to, because these are supposed to be smaller units. And 1,200 feet is 1,200 square feet is starting to get to be larger than it should be, in my opinion. And lastly, I wanted to just get clarification on the leaf blower ordinance. I understand that it's applicable to us residents and landscapers. Is a gas-powered leaf blower used by a landscaper working on town property authorized or okay, or is it not?
So the only exemption is our public schools, Lucinda. We have caught some contractors that have been employed by the town to do some emergency work using some gas leaf blowers, and we've immediately corrected those conditions by delivering some of the electric packs that we have for our own staff. So we've changed our own inventory, and despite seeing what looks like a gas leaf blower by maintenance staff, they're actually battery powered units. And so the only exemption is the public schools.
Thank you very much for clarifying that, Mike.
Sure, my pleasure.
That's all I had. Thank you.
Great. Well, thank you, Lucinda. Great points. And on that last one, I just wanted to say that, that was a discussion that we had. I remember when the leaf blower ordinance first came to council, and the direction that we came away with was, we're not going to ask residents to do anything that we won't do ourselves. We're going to hold ourselves to the same standards that we ask residents to achieve. But I appreciate you bringing that up, because it is important, I think, to just reaffirm for folks that we're walking the walk if we're asking residents to make changes to their lives. So thank you for that. If you don't have anything else, we'll go ahead and move on to Karen, followed by Barbara.
Hi, I just had a question about the Corte Madera and Best Western, if there was any update on what's happening with that and what's going to happen next.
Yeah. I'm happy to give you an update on that. Hi, Karen. So right now, the next thing you'll probably see, and it's actually good timing, the environmental consultants are wrapping up what is called their initial study, an environmental analysis that sort of describes the potential environmental impacts of the hotel redevelopment project. So obviously, with the proposal now not to basically not to touch the pond, it's a much simpler environmental analysis than it was previously. So, but nonetheless, you will see that document shortly go out for a 30-day public comment and public review. That's the next step in the process. And we're looking at the project itself coming back for a planning commission hearing likely in January is the tentative schedule at this point. But the next step, and we'll make sure it's sent out via all our messaging platforms, will be this environmental initial study for public comment. So I think that will give you a good sense of where the application is in its review process.
But things are progressing relatively smoothly. There's no train wreck or anything happening on the thing, or a lot of blowback or any landmines going on.
Oh, well, just to go back, I mean, the applicant did hold two public meetings, one on their own and then one with the planning commission. And really, based on the feedback they had at those community meetings, and certainly based on feedback from the last go round with the project and the way that they've changed the proposal to meet the ordinances that were passed by the town and designed in a way no, I mean, they got positive feedback at the first couple community meetings, which gave them the confidence, I think, to go into the process and sort of develop the application go through the environmental analysis, and then come back for the public hearing in January, which is the next, I think, again, it's the tentative date in January. So, you know, but there's a public comment period, there's public review. That's what the process is all about. So we want to hear from members of the community, and that will be the next step on the project. So, but it does meet all of the ordinance. Well, I should say it meets all of the basic standards that are in the code for moving through the application process in a methodical way and meeting the policy objectives.
Okay, thanks.
Great. Thank you so much, Karen. We're going to go to Barbara next.
Yeah, hi. This is Barbara Solomon, and thank you, Eli, for letting me speak. And I want to say thank you to this whole crew, the staff and the town council members who do such an excellent job in these mayor talks and the way you respond to all of our questions. Some of them probably not, you probably get tired of hearing some of the same questions over and over, and I appreciate it. A couple of points I wanted to make. First, a welcome to Chris Ragland. You're very happy to see you there, and you're joining a great group, let me tell you. In terms of the PG&E survey that we're doing in December, is that a potential for undergrounding all the wires town-wide in Corte Madera? Is that the ultimate goal? Although I understand there are going to be huge cost concerns along with that. But is that the hopeful plan through all this?
Yes, I want to be careful with what we say because we're in a really, there's been a lot of negotiations going on behind the scenes with PG&E, but basically okay. our intent, Barbara, is to use PG&E's decision-making matrix and how they evaluate their lines in high-risk situations, or the age and infrastructure, how they evaluate it and make decisions. And we believe, based on the age and the infrastructure and the hazard areas of our community, that's a big part of our entire population. So we're just about done with that analysis. This survey is really important. When you read the survey, they'll ask some questions that maybe you didn't anticipate, and they didn't ask some questions you think they should. Mm-hmm. It has everything to do with PG&E's decision-making matrix and nothing else. And so this is an important piece. But yes, our intent is to have that report. We're going to make that report go public. We're going to have a public discussion about it, maybe a couple, maybe some workshops. And then we're going to have an ask based on that analysis, what we hear from the council and the community. We'll have specific asks, and we'll probably do it in priorities throughout town. There is a pilot program, and we are potentially going to be one of the first cities or towns that is set up to receive a financial funding to underground major portions potentially. So we're really excited about it, but again, we're kind of in a critical stage right now. So I don't really want to say something and have to backtrack, but this is the most excited I've been regarding PG&E and progress in some of our conversations over the past 5 or 6 years.
Okay, well, thanks for being on top of it. So I won't ask specific questions. I just want to put in a plug. During the big rainstorm in October, our local neighborhood lost power for 29 hours because a big tree branch fell on a transformer. And that's a long time to be without power. And my own family lost a whole refrigerator full of food that I had bought because I was about to undergo shoulder surgery. So it would make, we lose power every time there's a big storm, and I'm used to that, but 29 hours is that really does make a dent. So
that is a part of our analysis. So that's a major portion, and that'll be a part of the survey. And so there'll be some specific questions where it'll be really important to have that feedback.
Yeah, and I'll definitely,
especially from your neighborhood.
Yeah, I'll include it in my survey. I'll definitely do the survey. I'll get every member of my family to do the survey. Okay, and then I just want to say, in terms of leaf blowers, I know you in the past you've made available a one-page flyer that can be passed out to people using gas-powered leaf blowers to let them know, even though they should realize it already, that they are banned in this town. And I have handed them out to landscapers who clearly didn't know, and they were very grateful to get that information. So that would be one suggestion maybe you could give to Michael in terms of Christmas Tree Hill. And also, I just wanted to clarify, so commercial buildings, like all the apartments and condos around here, most of them still use the gas leaf blowers. So am I right to approach their landscapers and say you shouldn't be using them? Or should I leave that to you guys to work with?
If you share that information with me, I'd prefer to engage them and like take you out of the equation and not put you in a position of that might be uncomfortable. What's unusual is like Larkspur has a similar ordinance, but they did not exempt multifamily dwellings and stuff. So there's somewhat of a variation in Marin County from some municipalities. So again, it's just education and just follow up. And an example of that is well over a year ago, I saw gas powered leaf blower being operated at Town Center, one of our major shopping centers. And I followed up with the property manager, and he made an immediate correction, was unaware, and that's a fraction of what happens here. But I'm happy to reach out to anyone that you provided, that's in violation.
Yeah,
and so we also have this new admin site I talked about a moments ago, but there's also a box on there for a documented warning. So I think the next part of this equation with following verbal warnings is sending the property owner that official warning with their name and contact information with the fine of $100. They're going to take corrective action fairly quickly. So it's a process. We're developing it. We're somewhat learning as we go, but we are making a dent, and we count on members of the community to assist us in providing that information. But thank you.
Okay, thank you. One last point I wanted to make is that I do agree with Lucinda that intersection of Sausalito and Tamalpais is a very dangerous one. And I've had a lot of near accidents at that same corner of people turning right onto Tamalpais from Sausalito because they didn't see the car, they didn't look, or they didn't see the cars coming. So I do think parking too close to that corner is a big problem. So just my 2 cents. So, and thank you very much.
Thanks so much, Barbara, and thanks for that last comment as well. I think RJ had to run, but we'll definitely pass that along and make sure that he knows that comment was seconded by another resident. So thank you. And let's see, with that, we've got a hand up from Patty, so we're going to go to Patty next. Guys, I'm going to have to drop off in like 2 minutes here because I got to get ready for a Central Marin Sanitation Agency that I represent Corte Madera on. So if I have to drop off here, I'm just going to let Todd and the staff run this thing to the end and take any last comments, but we're going to hear from Patty next.
I just wondered if it was possible to put a convex mirror across from that area that's not visible rather than getting rid of the parking. It's something that we dealt with a lot on Casa Buena, and we had to do both, make a red thing, and people have put convex mirrors. So that's my thought.
Great idea, Patty. Thank you. And we'll pass that along as well for RJ and his team to consider and evaluate. We'll just do one last call for any last questions or comments that folks want to share here. And I'm not seeing any hands go up. So I got to run, everyone. I want to thank our staff for taking an hour out of their busy day. I know you guys are slammed this week. So thanks so much. And of course, want to thank all of the residents that took the time to join us today and bring us your questions and comments. We always appreciate you guys coming and interacting with us and sharing with us what's on your mind. So thank you so much to everybody. I think, Adam, you said that the next housing workshop is tonight, right?
It's tomorrow night. Planning Commission tonight, and then tomorrow night's a housing workshop.
Tomorrow night. Okay, great. Well, thank you so much. So yeah, one last plug for that. All right, everybody, enjoy the rest of your evening, and I hope to see you guys soon. Take care.